I never thought one night could destroy everything. 3 years of marriage, gone. Daniel and I met in college, one of those whirlwind romances everyone envies. We got married young, maybe too young. For a while, we were happy, but lately, I'd been feeling like a ghost in my own home. Daniel worked late every night. When he came home, he barely looked at me. We stopped having dinner together, stopped talking, stopped touching. I felt invisible, like I was slowly disappearing. That Friday night, I was alone again. Daniel was out of town on a business trip, so he said. I poured myself a glass of wine, trying to numb the loneliness that had become my constant companion. Then the doorbell rang. Marcus. I opened the door, surprised to see Daniel's best friend standing there. Hey, Alina, Daniel asked me to check on you while he's away. Mind if I come in? I should have said no, but I was so starved for human connection that I stepped aside. Sure, want some wine? Always. We sat on the couch, talking like we used to before everything got complicated. Marcus had this way of making me feel seen, like I mattered. We talked about everything: my job, his new promotion, my frustrations with Daniel's distance. You seem unhappy, Marcus said, refilling my glass. I am, I admitted. The wine was making me honest. I feel like I'm living with a stranger. He leaned back, studying me with those dark eyes. Can I ask you something crazy? Sure. I bet you wouldn't have the guts to do something wild, something that would shake up your boring life. I laughed, but it sounded hollow even to my ears. What do you mean? I mean, you're playing it safe, following all the rules. Where has that gotten you? Lonely and ignored. He moved closer. When was the last time you felt alive, Alina? The wine, the loneliness, the years of neglect, it all crashed over me at once. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting you take a risk. Just once. See what happens. I knew what he meant. I knew exactly what he was offering. And in that moment, fueled by hurt and wine and desperation, I made the worst decision of my life. One night, I whispered. Just one night. Just one night, he agreed. The morning after was like waking up from a nightmare into a worse reality. Marcus left early, barely meeting my eyes. I sat on my couch, staring at the wine glasses on the coffee table, and felt my world crumbling around me. What had I done? How could I have betrayed Daniel like that? Even if our marriage was broken, even if I felt abandoned, this wasn't the answer. I thought about confessing, about calling Daniel and telling him everything, but fear paralyzed me. Maybe I could bury this secret, I thought. Maybe no one would ever know. 2 days later, Daniel came home early. The moment I saw his face, I knew. The cold fury in his eyes, the rigid set of his jaw, he knew. Don't lie to me, Alina. My heart stopped. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. He held up his phone, turning the screen toward me. A text message from Marcus glowed in the dim light of our bedroom. She took the bet, just like you said she would. The words didn't make sense at first. I read them again, my blood turning to ice. What is this? Daniel's laugh was bitter and cruel. You really thought Marcus just happened to stop by? That he randomly suggested that stupid bet? Daniel, I don't understand. I set it up. His composure shattered, voice rising. I set the whole thing up. Marcus, the bet, everything. I wanted to see if you'd actually betray me, if you'd prove you were the person I suspected you were. The room spun. You planned this. I needed proof, Alina. I've suspected for months that you wanted out, that you were unhappy, so I tested you. He stepped closer, and beneath the anger, I saw something that looked like pain. And you failed. Tears streamed down my face. I was lonely. You've been ignoring me for months, barely touching me, treating me like I don't exist. I made a horrible mistake, but you manipulated me into it. And you slept with my best friend, he said coldly. Mistake or not, it's over. My lawyer will contact you tomorrow. I want a divorce, Daniel. Please, we're done. He turned and walked out, leaving me crumpled on the floor, sobbing. I had betrayed him, but he had orchestrated my destruction. We had both destroyed each other, and there was no coming back from this. The email arrived the next morning. Victoria Brennan, Daniel's lawyer. Even her name sounded expensive and dangerous. I'd heard of her. She was famous in our city for crushing opponents in divorce cases. The email was formal and cold. Enclosed are the preliminary divorce terms. Given your infidelity, my client is entitled to full asset retention. You have 48 hours to review. I would get nothing. No alimony. No shared savings. Nothing. 2 days later, I sat across from Victoria in a sterile coffee shop downtown. She was in her 40s, immaculately dressed, with eyes that dissected me like a lab specimen. Mrs. Chen, she began, sliding papers across the table. This can be simple or complicated. Your choice? I stared at the documents, hands trembling. He set me up. He and Marcus planned everything. Doesn't that matter? Her expression didn't flicker. Can you prove it? Do you have documentation? Recordings? Witnesses willing to testify? Marcus will never testify against your husband. Trust me. She leaned back. You have 48 hours. Sign the papers and walk away. Or fight this and lose publicly. Your call. After she left, I sat there, drowning in the weight of my choices. That night, I called Nora, my older sister. If anyone could help me think straight, it was her. Nora, I messed up. I messed up so badly. Alina, what happened? I told her everything. The loneliness, the bet, Daniel's setup, the divorce papers. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she was silent for a long moment. Alina, listen to me. Yes, you made a mistake. A big one. But he manipulated you. He orchestrated your downfall because he was too much of a coward to just ask for a divorce. Don't let him win. What am I supposed to do? Fight back. Find proof. Don't roll over and let him destroy you. Her words planted something in me, a tiny seed of defiance. Maybe I didn't have to accept this quietly. The next day, I did what I should have done from the beginning. I went looking for answers. Marcus wasn't answering my calls, but I knew where he worked. I waited in his office building lobby, watching people come and go, until finally, I saw him heading out for lunch. Alina, you shouldn't be here, he said when he spotted me, face going pale. I blocked his path. Why did you do it, Marcus? Why did you help him destroy me? He glanced around nervously, then pulled me into a corner. Look, I'm sorry, okay, sorry. That's all you have to say. Daniel came to me a month ago. He said he suspected you were unhappy, maybe cheating. He wanted to test you. He offered me money, a lot of money, to set up the bet and see if you'd go through with it. My stomach turned. And you just agreed. I thought it was harmless. I didn't think you'd actually do it. He ran a hand through his hair. But when you did, Daniel had everything planned. The divorce, the lawyer, all of it. Why are you telling me this now? Because I feel like garbage about what we did to you. He hesitated, lowering his voice. There's something else. Daniel's been having an affair. For months. Her name is Claire, junior partner at his law firm. I think he wanted you gone so he could be with her without looking like the bad guy. My mind reeled. Daniel had been cheating while setting me up for infidelity. The hypocrisy was staggering. Can you testify to this? About the setup, the money, his affair? Marcus shook his head. I signed an NDA. If I talk, I lose everything. I'm sorry, Alina, I really am. He walked away, leaving me standing there with new information but no proof. That evening, I hired James Park, a scrappy lawyer with a reputation for taking on powerful opponents and winning. If your husband set you up, James said during our first meeting, we'll find a way to prove it. And if he's been having an affair, that changes everything. Can we win? We can try. James worked fast. Within a week, he'd hired a private investigator who confirmed Marcus's story. Daniel had been seeing Claire for at least 6 months. The investigator provided photos Daniel and Claire at restaurants, hotels, walking hand in hand through the city. This is leverage, James explained, spreading the evidence across his desk. He's not the innocent victim he's pretending to be. We can argue he orchestrated your affair to hide his own. A judge won't like that. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt hope. What's next? We confront him, before court, let him know we have evidence and see if he'll negotiate better terms. James arranged a meeting at a neutral location, a conference room downtown. When Daniel and Victoria arrived, he looked confident, composed. But when James laid out the photos of him and Claire, Daniel's face changed. The color drained from his cheeks. Where did you get these? His voice was tight. That's irrelevant, James replied calmly. What matters is your narrative falls apart when a judge sees you've been having an affair for 6 months, longer than your wife's single incident. Victoria leaned over, whispering urgently to Daniel. I watched him struggle, jaw clenched. Finally, he looked at me. What do you want, Alina? I leaned forward, meeting his eyes. I want you to admit what you did. Admit you set me up. Admit you manipulated me because you were too cowardly to ask for a divorce. And if I do, we negotiate fair terms. 50-50 split. No public mudslinging. Silence stretched between us. Then, quietly, fine. I set it up. I wanted proof you'd betray me, so I could leave guilt-free. Happy now. I wasn't happy. I was devastated. But I was also free. Let's settle this and move on. While Daniel and I worked through the settlement, something unexpected happened. Claire's life imploded. Nora called me one afternoon, excited. "Alina, check your email. You need to see this." She'd sent a link to a legal blog. The headline read, "Junior partner at Green & Associates under investigation for ethics violations." Claire had been accused of leaking confidential client information. The firm was investigating, and she'd been suspended. "How did this happen?" I asked, stunned. "One of the senior partners found out about her affair with Daniel," Nora explained. "They started digging into her work and found she'd been cutting corners, possibly sabotaging cases." I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and pity. A week later, I ran into Claire at a grocery store. She looked terrible, exhausted, no makeup, hair pulled back messily. When she saw me, she froze. "Alina, I'm sorry for everything." Part of me wanted to lash out, but I was too tired. "You made your choices, Claire. We're all paying for them now." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and walked away. I realized something then. Revenge didn't feel as good as I'd imagined. What I really wanted was closure, not destruction. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. Daniel and I split everything 50-50, and I moved into a small apartment across town. Then one evening, Daniel showed up at my door. He looked broken. "What do you want, Daniel?" I asked, standing in the doorway. "Can I come in? Just for a minute, please." Against my better judgment, I let him inside. He sat on my couch, looking around. "You've made this place nice. Why are you here?" He took a deep breath. "I've been thinking about what I did. The bet, the setup, everything. Alina, I was wrong. I was so focused on proving you'd betray me that I never asked myself why. The truth is, I was already checked out. I'd been seeing Claire, and I felt guilty, so I convinced myself you were the problem. I crossed my arms. You destroyed me to make yourself feel better. I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life." He looked up at me, genuine remorse in his eyes. "You deserved better. Better than the loneliness, the manipulation. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry." I sat down across from him. "You know what the worst part is? I loved you, Daniel. Even when things were bad, I still loved you. And you used that against me." "I know," he whispered. "I threw away the best thing I had. And now it's too late." We sat in silence. Then I said, "You should go." He nodded, standing slowly. At the door, he turned back. "I hope you find happiness, Alina. Real happiness. You deserve it." After he left, I cried not for him, but for the version of myself who'd believed in us. A month later, Marcus reached out. He wanted to meet at a park near my old neighborhood. He was sitting on a bench when I arrived, looking worn down. "Thanks for coming. What do you want, Marcus?" "I need to tell you something. About the bet." He took a deep breath. "Daniel didn't just pay me. He recorded everything. He had cameras in your apartment." My stomach dropped. "What?" "He deleted the footage after he got what he needed, but I made a copy first. Wanted leverage in case he tried to screw me over too." He pulled out a USB drive. "It's all here. Proof he planned everything." I stared at the drive. "Why give this to me now?" "Because I can't live with what we did. I've been losing sleep, losing my mind. I need to make this right, even if it's too late." He pressed it into my hand. "Do whatever you want with it. Expose him, keep it as insurance. I don't care. I just need you to know the truth. You know this could ruin you too." "I know, but some things are worth it." He stood up. "I'm sorry, Alina, for all of it." As he walked away, I looked down at the drive. For the first time, I held real power. I spent days debating what to do. Part of me wanted to release the footage publicly, to expose Daniel, but another part was exhausted. I called James. "If I release this evidence, what happens?" "You could reopen the settlement, sue for emotional distress, possibly press charges for invasion of privacy. Daniel's reputation would be destroyed. And if I don't, you move on. You keep the power without using it." That night, I met with Nora. "What would you do?" She thought for a moment. I'd ask myself, will destroying him heal you, or just keep you trapped in the past? Her words resonated deeply. The next day, I called Daniel. "I have the footage. Everything. The setup, the cameras, all of it." His silence was deafening. "I could ruin you with this," I said calmly, "but I'm not going to. Not because you deserve mercy, but because I deserve peace. I'm done letting you control my life. This is over, Daniel. Truly, over." Alina, I hung up before he could finish. I kept the drive locked away not as a weapon, but as a reminder. A reminder that I'd survived, that I'd chosen myself. I started therapy. reconnected with old friends, and slowly rebuilt my life. The pain didn't disappear overnight, but each day became a little easier. 6 months after the divorce, I barely recognized my old life. I'd started working at a nonprofit helping women through difficult transitions, divorce abuse, financial hardship. My experience gave me empathy I never had before. One afternoon, while organizing a fundraiser, I met Alex, a volunteer who worked with at-risk youth. He had kind eyes and an easy smile. When we talked, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Genuine connection. We became friends first, taking things slowly. I wasn't ready to rush anything, and he respected that. Nora noticed the change in me. "You're glowing. It's like you're finally yourself again." "I think I am," I admitted. "For the first time in years, I'm not defined by what happened to me. I'm defined by how I chose to move forward." I never reached out to Daniel again. I heard through mutual acquaintances that his relationship with Claire had ended badly. He was alone, struggling professionally, facing consequences. I didn't feel satisfaction hearing that. Ty felt nothing. He was no longer part of my story. One evening, Alex and I sat on my apartment rooftop, watching the sunset. "Can I ask you something?" he said gently. "What made you so strong?" I thought about his question. I wasn't strong. I was broken. But I chose not to stay that way. I chose to rebuild, even when it hurts. He took my hand, and I let him. It felt right, natural, safe. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I realized something profound. My story wasn't about the betrayal, the bet, or the divorce. It was about the woman I became after surviving it all. And that woman, she was worth everything I'd been through. The end.